My mouth tastes like metal. Not fear, something sharper. Like I'm about to say the wrong thing and can't stop it. And the air knows. Emma Carter didn't think of Thanksgiving as a threshold. It was just a date she circled on a calendar because her mother liked things organized, liked closure, liked the illusion that family could be folded neatly like linen and put away until needed again. It was late morning in coastal California, the light thin and clean through the apartment blinds, when Emma stood barefoot in the kitchen and watched Ashley Monroe kneel in front of the open cabinet under the sink, her hair clipped up with a pencil like she was in the middle of a class and had simply forgotten to go. "Tell me," Ashley said, voice muffled by the cabinet, "why you own 3 different brands of dish soap." Emma leaned on the counter, arms crossed, the cold granite biting her skin. "I don't own them. They appeared." Ashley's laugh came out as a short exhale. Practical even in amusement. "They did not appear. You bought them. I was trying to be an adult. You're 22, Em. You're allowed to be a mess." That was Ashley. She made mess sound like permission instead of failure. She made most things sound like something Emma could survive. Ashley slid back, holding a small clear plastic bag between her fingers like evidence. "Also, you have 10 twist ties." Emma stared. "Those are for emergencies." "What emergencies require twist ties?" "The kind you don't plan for." Ashley rose in one smooth motion, standing close enough that Emma caught a whiff of her laundry detergent and warm skin, a faint trace of oil that never fully left her hands, no matter how often she washed them. Ashley kept her nails short. Always. It was one of those tiny details that somehow made her feel more grown than everyone else. "You're nervous," Ashley said, eyes flicking up to Emma's face. Emma scoffed because that was what she did when something landed too close to the truth. "I'm not." Ashley tilted her head. "You are. It's your mom." Emma's mother was an entire sentence people tried to finish for her. Brianna Carter, elegant, self-contained, the kind of woman who could sit through a silence without fidgeting. She wore her independence like perfume, subtle, expensive, impossible to ignore. After the divorce, she didn't collapse. She didn't rant. She didn't post cryptic quotes online. She simply continued. She simply became quieter. And Emma had always thought quiet meant safe. "I just don't want it to be." Emma searched for the word and hated how childish it sounded. "Wired." Ashley's mouth softened. Not a smile, not pity, something gentler than both. "It won't be weird. We'll eat dry turkey, we'll pretend we love football, and then we'll go home. You'll survive. You make everything sound survivable. That's because it usually is." Ashley reached past Emma to grab a mug from the cabinet above the sink, her arm brushing Emma's shoulder in the reach. A casual touch. Nothing. Yet Emma felt it the way she always did. A small jolt of awareness, the reminder that bodies were real and occupied space, and could be close without meaning anything. Emma looked away. "You say that now. Wait until she asks you about your major." Ashley smirked into the mug as she rinsed it. "I'll tell her I'm majoring in fixing things people ignore." Emma's laugh came out, unwilling but real. It loosened something in her chest. Ashley dried her hands on a towel and leaned back against the counter. "Seriously, what's the worst that happens?" Emma knew what she could say. "The worst is my mother looks at you and finds you charming. The worst is she likes you. The worst is I watch you fit into her house like you belong there. And I realize I don't even know if I do anymore." Instead, she said, "Shall be polite." Ashley lifted a brow. "That's bad. It's Brianna." Emma didn't call her mom when she talked about her to other people. She never had. It wasn't deliberate. It just was. Ashley took that in, Brianna. Like a name that belonged to a woman before it belonged to a mother. "She's not a monster," Ashley said. Emma stared at the sunlight pooling on the floor. "No, she's worse." Ashley's eyes narrowed. "Worse how?" Emma's throat tightened. "She's perfect. Like she knows what she's doing with her life. Like she doesn't need anyone. And then I feel like a temporary person. Like I'm still waiting for my actual life to start." Ashley didn't answer right away. She rarely rushed Emma through her own thoughts. Then she said, "If you've ever felt like you're failing at a life everyone else seems to know how to live, you understand." Emma blinked. It hit like a quiet confession. Ashley moved closer. "Hey." Her voice dropped. You're not temporary. Emma swallowed. She wanted to believe her. She also wanted to believe that a long weekend in Arizona wouldn't shift the axis of anything. They packed with the kind of chaotic coordination that only happens between people who have lived together long enough to know each other's rhythms. Ashley handled the practical: tires, oil, snacks that wouldn't melt. Emma handled the emotional: books she wouldn't read, sweaters she wouldn't wear, the careful curation of appearing fine. The drive east was long in the way time is long when you're trying not to think. The sky widened and widened, the ocean replaced by scrub and rock, the air thinning into something dry and bright. Ashley drove with one hand on the wheel, relaxed, eyes steady. She hummed sometimes under her breath, tuneless. Emma watched her profile in the shifting light and felt something that wasn't attraction. At least, not the word people used when they meant hunger. It was admiration with teeth. Ashley had grown up with grease under her nails and the steady confidence of someone who knew how to fix what broke. Emma had grown up with books and feeling like everything important happened inside people and could not be repaired with a wrench. "Do you think she still loves him?" Ashley asked somewhere outside of Blythe, as if she'd been listening to Emma's thoughts. Emma stared out the window at the flat desert. "My dad." Ashley nodded once, eyes on the road. Emma's mouth tightened. "I don't know. I don't think love is the thing that matters to her." Ashley's fingers tapped the steering wheel. A small habit. Like counting. "She seems like she's holding her breath," Ashley said. Emma glanced at her. "What?" Ashley shrugged like it was nothing, like she hadn't just said something that made Emma's chest ache. "You said she's quiet. Sometimes quiet is just breathing in and never letting it out." Emma didn't respond. She couldn't. The closer they got to Arizona, the more Emma felt that metallic taste return. Not constant. Not loud. Just there. Like a warning you couldn't completely ignore. When they finally pulled into the neighborhood, the sun was already lowering, stretching long shadows across stucco houses and gravel yards. The air was warm even in late November, the kind of warmth that felt like it was stored in the earth. Brianna's house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, understated and clean. Desert landscaping done with intention. A white porch light already on. The place looked like a woman who had learned how to be alone without looking lonely. Emma's fingers tightened around her seatbelt. Ashley cut the engine. "You good?" Ashley asked. Emma forced her face into a shape that looked like okay. "Yeah." Ashley reached over and squeezed Emma's knee, quick, grounding. "Then let's do it." Emma nodded. She opened her door and stepped into the warmth, the scent of dust and something faintly floral. Maybe night-blooming jasmine from a neighbor's yard. Her stomach flipped. The front door opened before they reached it. Brianna Carter stood framed by the doorway like a photograph that had been edited for contrast. She wore dark jeans and a soft cream sweater that made her skin look warmer, her hair pulled back in a low, loose knot. No makeup that Emma could see. Just herself. Somehow that made her more intimidating. She smiled at Emma first. Always Emma first. "Hi, sweetheart," Brianna said. Her voice was low, calm, familiar in the way a childhood room is familiar even after you've moved out. Emma leaned into the hug because it was expected, and because the scent of her mother, clean soap, a hint of something like bergamot, hit her with a sudden, irrational wave of safety. Then Brianna pulled back, and her gaze moved. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie moment with slow time and music swelling. It was a second. A half second too long. Brianna's eyes landed on Ashley, and something in her face changed so subtly Emma almost missed it. A tiny pause at the edge of her breath. A stillness that wasn't the comfortable kind. Ashley, for her part, didn't look away. She didn't flinch. She just met it. Like recognition wasn't a choice but an instinct. Emma's stomach tightened. Ashley extended her hand. "Hi-dight. I'm Ashley. Thank you for having me." Brianna's gaze dropped to the offered hand. Then she took it. Her fingers wrapped around Ashley's with quiet confidence, warm and steady. But the contact, Emma saw it. The way Ashley's throat moved when she swallowed, the way Brianna's thumb lingered a fraction longer than necessary before letting go. Nothing that could be called inappropriate. Everything that could be called something. "Of course," Brianna said. "I'm glad you're here." Her voice sounded the same. Controlled. Polite. And yet Emma felt, inexplicably, like a door had opened in a house she thought she knew. They moved inside, shoes by the door, bags carried down the hallway. Brianna's home was cool compared to the outside. Air conditioning humming softly, the scent of rosemary and roasted vegetables drifting from the kitchen. The living room was clean but lived in, books on the coffee table, a throw blanket folded with intentional imperfection. Emma noticed things she hadn't before. Or maybe she was noticing them now because Ashley was here, and Ashley made everything look slightly different. Brianna showed them the guest room with calm efficiency, pointing out towels and a spare toothbrush like she'd done this 1,000 times. But Emma watched her hands as she spoke, the way her fingers moved, graceful without performance. She watched Ashley watching. Ashley's eyes kept flicking around the house like she was cataloging a machine. Not judging, just absorbing. "This place is nice," Ashley said. Brianna smiled, small. "It's quiet. I like quiet." Emma's chest tightened again. There it was, holding her breath. "I like quiet too," Ashley said, and something in her tone made it sound like a choice she was still learning. Brianna's eyes stayed on Ashley's face a beat longer than necessary. "Do you?" Ashley didn't look away. "Yeah. But I don't always get it." Emma felt suddenly like she was standing between two frequencies that were starting to match. She cleared her throat. "I'm starving." Brianna's attention snapped back to Emma, easy, practiced. "Dinner's almost ready. You two settle in." When Brianna left, the air in the guest room seemed to shift. Not lighter, not heavier, just altered. Like a room after someone says something that can't be unsaid. Ashley set her duffel on the bed. "Your mom is... don't..." Emma cut in automatically. Ashley blinked. "Don't what?" "Don't start." Emma's voice came out sharper than she intended. She immediately regretted it. "I'm sorry, I just... don't want to hear it." Ashley's expression softened. Then... I wasn't going to say anything weird." Emma stared at the patterned quilt on the bed. "It's always weird when people comment on her." Ashley frowned. "Why?" "Because it reminds me she's a woman before she's my mother. Because it reminds me she had a whole life I wasn't part of. Because it reminds me she can be looked at." Emma didn't say any of that. She shook her head instead. Ashley took a step closer. "Okay. We won't talk about it." Emma nodded, relief and something else twisting together. Downstairs, dinner moved with the rhythm of practiced toasting. Brianna set the table with simple confidence. No fuss. No performative holiday decor. Just warm light and food that smelled like effort. Emma watched her mother in the kitchen, the way she moved around the counters, the way she checked the oven, the way she wiped her hands on a towel even when they weren't dirty. A small habit. A way of keeping control. Ashley hovered near the doorway like she wasn't sure where to put herself. "You can sit," Emma whispered. Ashley shook her head. "Can I help?" Brianna glanced up from the counter. "If you want to." Ashley stepped in without hesitation. It was like watching someone walk into a space they'd been in before, even if they hadn't. She washed her hands, rolled up her sleeves, and asked, "What do you need?" Brianna studied her for a beat. "Can you slice the bread?" Ashley nodded and moved to the cutting board, fingers steady, precise. The knife thudded softly against wood. The scent of warm crust rose. Brianna stirred something on the stove, and the steam fogged the window over the sink. Emma stood back, suddenly feeling like a guest in her own homecoming. Brianna reached for a utensil in a drawer. Ashley shifted slightly to make room. Their shoulders didn't touch, but they came close enough that Emma's skin prickled as if it had. "Where'd you learn to cook like this?" Ashley asked, casual. Brianna's mouth curved faintly. "Necessity. And boredom." Ashley smiled. "Boredom makes people dangerous." Brianna's gaze flicked to her, amused in a way Emma didn't often see. "Does it?" Ashley's knife paused mid-slice. Her eyes held Brianna's. Sometimes. The air between them seemed to tighten, invisible but real. Emma's stomach turned over. Too close, Emma thought, without knowing why the phrase arrived so cleanly in her mind. Too close. Dinner was good. Not just good, comforting. Brianna asked Ashley about school, about California, about what she wanted after graduation. Ashley answered honestly, without trying to impress. She talked about engines and the feeling of bringing something dead back to life. Brianna listened the way she listened to everything, eyes steady, chin slightly tilted, attention full. Emma watched, uneasy. When Emma spoke about literature, Brianna nodded politely, but her gaze drifted once toward Ashley's hands as Ashley gestured. Emma noticed. She pretended she didn't. After dinner, Brianna poured tea. The evening cooled outside, the desert air shifting toward chill. The house felt like a pocket of warmth. Emma wanted to go upstairs and disappear into the guest room. Ashley looked like she wanted to see the garage. It happened without anyone saying it outright. Brianna set her mug down and glanced toward the hallway that led to the attached garage. Emma told me you like cars. Ashley's face lit, not with childish excitement but something deeper, reverent. Yeah. Brianna hesitated, then said, "There's something in the garage." Emma's stomach dropped. "Mom." Brianna glanced at her. "What?" "That's not." Emma stopped. She didn't even know what she was trying to prevent. "It's just an old car. It's dusty." Ashley's eyes flicked between them. Curious, careful. Brianna's mouth tightened slightly. "It's not just a car." Emma stood. "I'm tired." Brianna's gaze stayed on her. "It's early." Emma forced a shrug. "Long drive." Ashley stood too, but her attention remained on Brianna, like a compass needle refusing to be moved. "I'd love to see it if that's okay." Brianna's eyes softened. Not in a motherly way. In a way Emma had never seen directed at anyone. "It's okay," Brianna said quietly. "Come on." Emma could have stayed behind. She should have. Instead she followed, because something in her didn't trust what might happen if she didn't witness it. The garage door creaked open with a familiar sound, and the scent hit immediately. Dust, old rubber, faint gasoline, the ghost of oil. The space was clean, but full of stored history. Labeled bins, a hanging bike, a workbench that looked unused but respected. And under a fitted gray cover, like a body under a sheet, was the shape Emma had ignored most of her life. Brianna crossed the concrete floor and gripped the edge of the cover. Her fingers paused just for a moment, like she was touching something that could bite. Then she pulled it back. The Mustang emerged in stages, dark paint catching the overhead light, chrome edges dulled but proud, the curve of the hood like a held breath. Ashley's inhale was audible. "Oh," she whispered. Emma watched her best friend step closer. Slow, reverent. Ashley didn't reach out immediately. She just looked, taking it in like a painting. "What year?" Ashley asked, voice low, like you spoke in churches. 68, Brianna said. Ashley's eyes widened, bright in the garage light. That's incredible." Emma felt a weird twist of irritation and relief. She'd never seen Ashley this alive. Not even at school. Ashley circled the car, gaze tracing details. The lines, the body. She shook her head, almost smiling to herself. "Who restored it?" Brianna's mouth curved faintly. "No one, not yet." Ashley glanced up. "You want to?" Brianna didn't answer right away. She walked to the workbench and ran her fingers along the edge like she remembered a rhythm there. "I used to." Ashley waited. She didn't fill silence. She respected it. Emma's throat tightened again because she realized something she hadn't wanted to. Ashley and Brianna shared a language Emma didn't speak. Not cars, something else. Something about versions of yourself you set down when life got too heavy. Ashley moved closer to Brianna, careful not to invade. "What stopped you?" Brianna's gaze stayed on the Mustang. "Time. Responsibility. Being what I was supposed to be." Ashley's voice softened. "And what were you supposed to be?" Brianna finally looked at her. The overhead light made shadows under her cheekbones, made her eyes look darker. "A mother," she said. Ashley nodded once, almost imperceptible. "Yeah." Emma's stomach tightened. Too close. Brianna's gaze flicked briefly toward Emma, like she remembered she was there, then back to Ashley. "You understand machines," Brianna said quietly. "They don't forgive neglect." Ashley's mouth parted slightly. "Neither do people." A silence settled in the garage, thick and charged. Nothing moved. Not the air. Not the dust. Emma felt suddenly like she was eavesdropping on something intimate. Brianna broke the stillness with a controlled exhale. "Emma, can you grab the flashlight from the drawer?" Emma blinked. The request felt like a lifeline. A task. A role. She moved quickly to the bench, pulled open drawers until she found the flashlight, handed it over. Her fingers brushed Brianna's for the briefest moment. Brianna didn't react. Not outwardly. But Emma saw the tiny shift at the corner of her mother's mouth, the minute tightening, as if she was remembering herself. Ashley leaned over the open hood as Brianna unlatched it. The metal clicked softly. The engine bay was dusty but intact, a sleeping animal. Ashley's voice went quieter. "She's been sitting." Brianna's hand rested on the edge of the hood. "Too long." Ashley nodded, eyes scanning. She could run again. Brianna looked at her, something like hope and fear mixing. Could she? Ashley finally reached out, fingers hovering, then lightly touching a part of the engine like she was greeting someone. "Yeah," she said. "If you want her to." If you want her to. The phrase landed differently than it should have. Emma's chest tightened. She couldn't explain why. She just knew that something had shifted, minutely, like a bolt loosening in a structure you assumed was solid. Brianna's gaze stayed on Ashley's hand, then lifted to Ashley's face. "I don't know what I want anymore," Brianna admitted, and the honesty of it felt dangerous in a way Emma had never heard from her. Ashley swallowed. "That can change." Brianna's laugh was quiet, almost disbelieving. "Can it?" Ashley's eyes didn't look away. "Yeah," she said again, softer. "It can." Emma stood there, the flashlight suddenly heavy in her hand, watching two women, one her mother, one her closest person, stand on either side of a machine that was somehow becoming a mirror. She wanted to interrupt, to laugh, to make it normal. Instead, she said nothing, because she didn't know what normal was in this moment. The garage light hummed. The air smelled like old oil and possibility. Ashley's fingers lingered on the engine like she was memorizing it. Brianna's hand stayed on the hood, knuckles pale. Emma felt the metallic taste return, stronger now, like her body had decided before her mind did. Too close, she thought again. Too close to what? She didn't know. But she knew, somehow, that whatever line existed in this house, whatever invisible boundary kept their lives predictable, it had just been touched. Not crossed. Touched. And once something is touched, you can't pretend it doesn't exist. She shouldn't have stayed in the garage that long. She knows that now. Because something changed in the air. And it didn't change back. The next morning arrives too bright. Arizona sunlight does not ease into a room. It claims it. It spills through the blinds in sharp pale lines that slice across the guest bed and land directly over Ashley's shoulder. Emma wakes first. She always does. For a few seconds, she forgets where she is. Then the scent hits. Dry air. Faint coffee drifting from downstairs. Something metallic lingering at the edge of memory. Too close. The phrase surfaces again, quieter this time. Not accusation. Observation. Ashley is asleep on her side, hair loose now, face softened in rest. Emma watches her for a second longer than she means to. Last night lingers in her chest, not as an event, but as vibration. The look in the garage. The way Brianna had said, "I don't know what I want anymore." The way Ashley had answered without hesitation. Emma presses her palm flat against the mattress as if grounding herself. It's nothing. It has to be nothing. Downstairs, Brianna stands at the stove in loose cotton pants and a fitted white tank, her hair down this time, falling over one shoulder. She isn't dressed for anyone. She never is. But when Ashley steps into the kitchen 10 minutes later, barefoot, wearing one of Emma's oversized t-shirts, something subtle shifts. Brianna looks up and pauses. Not obvious. Not inappropriate. Just long enough. Ashley stops near the counter. Morning. Her voice is lower when she wakes. Rough around the edges. Brianna notices. "Good morning," Brianna says evenly. "Coffee?" Ashley nods. "Please." Emma stays near the doorway, suddenly hyper-aware of spacing, of angles, of breath. Brianna pours coffee into a ceramic mug, steam curling upward. When she hands it to Ashley, their fingers brush again. Ashley inhales, barely. Brianna's gaze lifts to her eyes. A second. A recognition. Ashley clears her throat. "Thanks." Emma feels it in her own body absurdly. A tightening low in her stomach. A flush that doesn't belong to her. Breakfast unfolds with careful normalcy. Plates clink. Forks scrape. The television murmurs faintly in the living room. With holiday commentary, no one is watching. The outside world continues moving. Neighbors start lawn blowers. A dog barks. A car door slams somewhere down the cul-de-sac tight. But inside the kitchen, there is a new current. So, Brianna says, eyes on Ashley, not Emma. If the Mustang could run again, what would it take? Ashley sets her fork down. She doesn't answer lightly. Time, parts, patience. Brianna nods once. And if someone didn't have those? Ashley's gaze lifts. Direct. Then she'd have to decide if she wants it enough to make space. Emma's pulse stutters. She tells herself they're talking about a car. She tells herself that's all. Brianna leans back in her chair, crossing one leg over the other. The movement is unhurried, controlled. But Ashley's eyes drop for a fraction of a second before returning to Brianna's face. There it is. The shift. Ashley experiences her differently now. Not as Emma's mother. As a woman. It happens quietly, but once it does, it cannot be undone. Brianna notices. Not consciously, perhaps. But something in her posture adjusts. Shoulders subtly back. Chin lifted a degree higher. A woman remembering her body exists beyond motherhood. Emma pushes her plate away too soon. I'm going to shower, she says. Neither of them look at her immediately. Too close. Upstairs, under the stream of hot water, Emma presses her forehead against tile and tells herself she's imagining things. Ashley admires strong women. Brianna has always been composed. There is no narrative here. But she sees it again in her mind, the way Ashley stood by the Mustang like it was alive. The way Brianna looked at her like she was. When Emma comes back down, dressed and quieter, she finds them in the living room. Not touching. Just standing closer than necessary near the window. Ashley is holding an old photograph Brianna has taken from a small wooden box on the shelf. In the photo, Brianna is younger. Grease on her cheek. Standing beside the Mustang when it was new or new enough. Laughing into the sun. You never told me about this, Emma says. Brianna turns. It was a long time ago. Ashley's thumb lingers over the edge of the photo. You look happy. Brianna's smile is thin. I was reckless. Ashley tilts her head. Reckless and happy are the same. Emma watches the exchange unfold like a tennis match she can't interrupt. Some risks, Brianna says quietly, aren't worth what they cost. Ashley's jaw tightens slightly. And some are. Silence. Charged. Brianna studies her. Not as a mother evaluating a daughter's friend. As a woman measuring another woman's courage. Emma feels something slide inside her chest. Not jealousy. Something more complex. A sense that the air in this house is no longer arranged around her. Later that afternoon, Brianna suggests a short drive. Not far. Just to clear the engine, she says, as if it's a practical decision. Emma declines. She claims a headache. It isn't entirely a lie. Ashley hesitates only a second before accepting. The Mustang coughs to life in the driveway, louder than Emma remembers. The sound vibrates through the house, through her ribs. She stands at the window and watches as Brianna backs out carefully, Ashley in the passenger seat. Ashley glances up once. Their eyes meet. There's a flicker there. Guilt? Excitement? Emma can't tell. Then the car disappears down the street. The house is too quiet without the engine's growl. Emma walks through rooms that suddenly feel unfamiliar. She touches the back of the couch, the cool countertop, the door frame leading to the garage. Everything is intact. Nothing has changed. And yet, when the Mustang returns 40 minutes later, something in the air feels denser. Ashley steps out first. Her cheeks are flushed. Not from heat. From something internal. Her eyes are bright in a way Emma hasn't seen before. Brianna circles to the driver's side slowly, one hand resting briefly on the roof of the car before letting go. How was it? Emma asks. Ashley exhales softly. She runs. Emma laughs weakly. Good. Brianna meets Ashley's gaze over the roof of the Mustang. She does, Brianna says. Too close, Emma thinks again. That evening, as the sun sets in a wash of orange over the desert, Brianna pours wine. Emma takes water. Ashley accepts a glass. The living room is dim now, lamplight softening edges. Outside, the sky deepens into indigo. Conversation drifts from cars to music to books to nothing in particular. At one point, Ashley leans forward to set her glass on the coffee table. Brianna's hand steadies it automatically. Their fingers overlap. Not an accident. Not entirely. Ashley freezes. Brianna doesn't pull away immediately. Contact lasts a second too long. Heat travels. Fast. Undeniable. Ashley's breath catches. She feels it. Fully. Desire. Raw and conscious. It shocks her. The clarity of it. The fact that it isn't abstract admiration anymore. It's physical. She withdraws first. Emma notices the silence more than the touch. You okay? Emma asks. Ashley nods too quickly. Yeah. Brianna sits back, composed again, but a faint flush has risen along her collarbone. Later, when Emma goes upstairs early, claiming exhaustion, the air shifts again. Ashley lingers near the bookshelf. Brianna stands near the doorway to the kitchen. Neither speaks for several long seconds. The outside world continues moving. A car passes. A neighbor laughs. A television murmurs faintly through a wall. Inside, Brianna says softly, "You should go to bed." Ashley swallows. Probably. But she doesn't move. Brianna's voice lowers. Ashley. Not admonishing. Warning. Ashley steps closer instead of back. Not touching. Just within reach. Too close. I don't want to make things complicated, Ashley says quietly. Brianna's eyes search her face. Then don't. Silence stretches. Electric? Ashley inhales slowly. You looked different today. Brianna's brow lifts faintly. Different how? Alive. The word lands between them like a confession. Brianna's breath falters. Ashley feels her own pulse in her throat. She knows this is a boundary. She knows Emma's name exists just outside this room like a fragile structure. And yet, she doesn't step away. Brianna whispers, "That's not something you should notice." Ashley answers without thinking. I notice. The shift is complete. Not a kiss. Not a touch. But the awareness is mutual now. And that is far more dangerous. Upstairs, Emma lies awake, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Downstairs, two women stand in a room too quiet for comfort, suspended on the edge of something neither of them has decided to name. The distance between them is measured in inches. In restraint. In choice. And neither of them is breathing normally anymore. The Mustang looked different in daylight. Not just cleaner, truer. Under the Arizona sun, the paint wasn't simply dark. It was midnight blue, the kind that drank light and gave it back in soft, dangerous reflections. Two white racing stripes ran over the hood like clean, deliberate scars, bold without being loud. The chrome caught sharp flashes as Brianna lifted the garage door, and for a moment the car seemed less like an object and more like a decision someone had been postponing for years. Ashley stood in the driveway with her hands in the pockets of her jeans, trying not to look too eager. She failed. That color, she said quietly, almost to herself. Midnight blue. Brianna glanced at her. You noticed. Ashley's mouth tilted. It's hard not to. Emma hovered near the porch with her arms crossed, watching the two of them orbit the car like it had its own gravity. She told herself she was being protective. She told herself she was just annoyed that Ashley was in her element, and Emma was not. But her body didn't believe her. Her body had believed the garage. It had believed the pause in Brianna's breath. It had believed the way Ashley's gaze changed. Now her body believed the Mustang too, because the Mustang wasn't just a car anymore. It was a room with a door. Brianna opened the driver's side door, and the scent rose immediately. Old leather warmed by sun. Faint gasoline, a hint of something metallic and clean. She ran her hand over the steering wheel, her fingers lingering on the worn spots like she was touching a past version of herself. Ashley didn't move closer until Brianna spoke. Do you want to ride? Brianna asked, voice steady. Ashley's answer came too fast. Yes. Emma's stomach tightened. Brianna looked at Emma, waiting for the reflexive protest. Emma gave a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Have fun. The words left her mouth like she was handing something away she didn't know she owned. Ashley climbed into the passenger seat, the movement smooth and familiar, like she'd done it 1,000 times. She adjusted the seatbelt, glanced at the dashboard, the cluster of dials like old jewelry. Brianna slid into the driver's seat. The space inside the car was smaller than Emma expected. Intimate. The kind of closeness you couldn't negotiate. Brianna turned the key. The engine rolled awake with a low, throaty rumble that vibrated through the chassis and into the air. It was not quiet. It was not polite. Ashley's breath caught. Brianna's eyes flicked toward her, quick, assessing. You okay? Brianna asked. Ashley nodded, but her voice was thinner than usual. Yeah, I just forgot how alive these sound. Brianna's mouth curved faintly. Alive, she repeated, like she was tasting the word. The Mustang eased out of the driveway, the tires crunching over gravel, the nose turning toward the open desert roads beyond the neighborhood. Emma watched from the porch until the car disappeared, the white stripes flashing once like a signal. Then she stood there longer than she needed to, as if waiting for something to return immediately. It didn't. The Arizona desert expanded around them as they drove. Open land, scrub brush, long stretches of road that looked like they could take you to a different life if you kept going. The sun made everything sharper, shadows, edges, truth. Inside the Mustang, the air was warm and close. The leather seats held heat. The engine's vibration traveled up through Ashley's thighs and settled somewhere low and undeniable. She tried to breathe normally. She couldn't. Brianna drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting loosely near the gear shift. She didn't talk much. She didn't need to. The Mustang spoke in vibration and sound, in the steady pull of forward motion. Ashley stared out at the desert for a moment, then back at Brianna's hands. Brianna's hands were elegant in a way Ashley hadn't fully registered before. Not delicate, capable, controlled. Each movement measured, like she'd learned to keep herself contained. But there was a looseness here too, like the car was giving her permission. You do this often? Ashley asked, voice careful. Brianna didn't look at her. I haven't in a long time. Ashley swallowed. Why not? A pause. Brianna's jaw shifted slightly. Life, Brianna said. Ashley almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was painfully familiar. I hate that answer, Ashley admitted. Brianna's gaze flicked toward her, amused and tired at once. Me too. Silence settled again, but it wasn't empty. It was full of things neither of them could say out loud. Ashley watched the desert slide by. Her body was too aware of everything, the closeness of Brianna's shoulder, the heat in the cabin, the way the seatbelt crossed her chest. She could smell Brianna faintly, clean soap, something citrus, and underneath it a quiet warmth that didn't belong to a perfume. Ashley tried to rearrange her thoughts into something safer. Cars. Engines. Parts. A track day would be incredible. But her mind kept returning to something else. The way Brianna had looked at her in the garage like she was recognizing a version of herself she'd lost. The way Brianna had held her gaze for that half second too long. The way Ashley's own chest had tightened when Brianna's fingers steadied her glass. Ashley pressed her tongue against her teeth, grounding herself. Brianna glanced at her again, quick. What are you thinking about? Ashley's body answered before her mouth did. Her pulse jumped. Heat rose along her neck. A small, involuntary inhale caught at the back of her throat. Brianna noticed. Ashley hated that Brianna noticed. Nothing, Ashley said automatically. Brianna's grip on the steering wheel tightened for a fraction of a second. Ashley's stomach twisted. She tried again, more honest. I'm thinking. Brianna waited. Ashley stared at the windshield, at the road ahead like it could save her. I'm thinking you look like someone different when you're driving. Brianna's breath faltered so subtly Ashley might have imagined it. What kind of different? Brianna asked, voice lower now. Ashley didn't answer right away. She didn't know how to say it without making it dangerous. You look like a woman. Not someone's mother. Not someone's ex-wife. Not someone who survives the quiet. You look free, Ashley said instead. Brianna didn't smile. She didn't dismiss it. The silence that followed was heavier than a response. Then Brianna said quiet, almost unwilling, I forgot what that feels like. Ashley's throat tightened. She turned her head slightly, enough to see Brianna's profile. The sun caught the curve of her cheekbone, the fine line near her mouth that spoke of restraint and years of choosing the responsible thing. Ashley felt a sudden, sharp tenderness. And underneath it, desire. It arrived clean and shocking, like a blade drawn too fast. Ashley pressed her palm against her thigh, grounding herself in the rough denim. She didn't move closer. She didn't touch. But she couldn't undo what her body had admitted. Brianna seemed to sense it without being told. The Mustang rolled on. The world kept moving. A truck passed in the opposite lane. A hawk circled high above. The road stretched forward, indifferent to anyone's morality. Brianna took a turn, slower, controlled. "There's a track day this weekend," she said, like it was a casual thought. Ashley blinked. "A track day?" Brianna nodded once. "A small one. Not official racing. People bring their cars, drive, learn. It's—" She hesitated. Ashley watched her carefully. "It's what?" Brianna's fingers flexed on the wheel. "It's something I used to do." Ashley's chest warmed. "You'd take the Mustang." Brianna glanced at her, something like challenge and fear mixed. "If it holds." Ashley smiled, real this time. "It'll hold." Brianna's mouth curved faintly, but her eyes stayed serious. "Would you want to go?" Ashley's body reacted again, an immediate rush of heat, excitement, and something more intimate than excitement. It wasn't just about the track. It was about being invited into Brianna's aliveness. About being chosen. Ashley heard herself say, yes. The word hung in the air like a commitment. When they returned to the house, Emma was on the couch with a book open on her lap, not reading. She looked up too quickly. "How was it?" Emma asked. Ashley forced her face into something normal. "Amazing. Your mom, Brianna, she can drive." Emma's jaw tightened at the name. Ashley saw it and felt a flicker of guilt. Brianna stepped in behind Ashley, keys in hand, composed again. "We're going to the track this weekend," Brianna said, directing it toward Emma as if it was just an activity. Emma blinked. "The track?" Brianna nodded. "I thought it might be fun." "Ashley wants to go." Emma's eyes flicked to Ashley. Ashley held the look, silently apologetic without knowing how to be. "I don't," Emma said too quickly. Brianna's expression stayed neutral. "You don't have to." Emma's voice tightened. "It's not my thing." Ashley wanted to say something, to bridge it, to soften it. But Brianna spoke first. "Okay," Brianna said simply. The simplicity of it landed like a small fracture. Emma looked away. Ashley felt the weight of what was at risk settle more clearly now. Not in theory, but in muscle and breath. Trust. Structure. The small fragile assumption that nothing important could happen in this house without Emma's consent. The next day, the track day arrived with early morning chill and pale sun. The desert air was colder than Ashley expected, crisp enough to wake every nerve. The world outside still moved in ordinary ways, coffee brewing, birds calling, tires on roads. But Ashley felt like she was stepping into a different version of herself as she followed Brianna out to the Mustang. Midnight blue under the morning light looked almost black until the sun hit it. Then it shimmered, deep and glossy. The white stripes made it look faster even standing still. Brianna wore jeans and a fitted dark jacket, hair pulled back again, sunglasses on. She looked younger at the track. Not because she was trying, because she wasn't trying to be anything at all. Emma stayed home. She'd said she wanted to rest, but Ashley had seen the way her face tightened, the way she avoided the garage. Ashley hated herself for leaving anyway. And still, she couldn't not go. At the track, the sound was constant, engines revving, tires squealing faintly in the distance, voices calling out. The smell of fuel hung in the air, sharp and thrilling. Men and women walked between cars, laughing, focused, alive. Brianna stepped into it like she belonged. Ashley walked beside her and felt the difference immediately. Here Brianna wasn't Emma's mom. No one looked at her that way. No one expected her to be quiet and contained. She was simply a woman with a classic car and a calm confidence that made people step out of her way without noticing they did. "Nice stripes," a man called as they pulled in. Brianna smiled politely. "Thank you." Ashley watched her. Watched the ease. Something in Ashley's chest fractured again, an internal fracture that had been growing since the garage. Because she realized the truth she'd been resisting. She didn't just admire Brianna. She wanted her. Not as an idea. As a person. As a woman. The admission didn't feel like a decision. It felt like a revelation her body had already written. Brianna signed a waiver, spoke with someone in a cap, listened to instructions like she was absorbing everything. Ashley stood behind her, close enough to smell her, close enough to feel the quiet heat of her presence even in the cold air. Too close, Ashley thought once. Just once. Because the phrase now meant something else. It meant the edge of choice. When Brianna finally climbed into the driver's seat, she looked toward Ashley. "Passenger?" Brianna asked. Ashley's throat went dry. "Yes," she managed. Inside the Mustang, the engine's vibration was stronger here. The track demanded a different kind of attention. Brianna's hands moved confidently, shifting, steering, adjusting. Her focus sharpened into something almost ruthless. Ashley watched her, breath held. Brianna accelerated down the straight and the world narrowed to sound and speed, and the way Brianna's body seemed to synchronize with the car. The white stripes blurred beneath the hood, the asphalt rushing forward like a ribbon being pulled taut. Ashley's breath caught not from fear, from awe. From the way desire could be born out of admiration and power and presence. Brianna took a turn cleanly, controlled. Ashley's body pressed slightly into the seat, her shoulder brushing the door, the seatbelt tightening across her chest. Her skin was too aware of everything, especially the fact that Brianna was right there, inches away, in command, alive. When they slowed and came off the track, Ashley realized she'd been holding her breath. Brianna glanced at her. "You okay?" Ashley laughed once, breathless. Yeah." Brianna's mouth curved. "Good." Ashley swallowed and looked away because if she looked too long, she didn't trust herself. The day moved forward anyway. Other cars. Other laps. Other conversations. The outside world kept its rhythm. But inside Ashley, everything was rearranging. A woman in a red jacket complimented Brianna. Someone offered Brianna a number of her parts. Brianna nodded, smiled, thanked them, so casual about being seen. Ashley watched it all like it was dangerous. Because Brianna being seen made Ashley feel seen too. By proximity, by association, by the part of herself that wanted to step into something she knew she shouldn't. Late afternoon, they drove home in a silence that wasn't comfortable. The sun lowered, turning the desert into a soft burn of gold. Inside the car, the warmth returned. The engine hummed steady now, as if satisfied. Ashley stared at the road ahead, hands clenched loosely in her lap. She could feel the exact place where the seatbelt pressed against her collarbone. She could feel the heat in her cheeks from hours ago still lingering, like her body refused to forget. Brianna drove with both hands on the wheel now, shoulders tight. She was quiet in a different way. Not relaxed quiet. Controlled quiet. Ashley felt it. She wanted to speak. She didn't know what would come out if she did. Brianna finally said, voice low, "We shouldn't have done that." Ashley's chest tightened. "Gone to the track?" Ashley asked, pretending. Brianna didn't look at her. "You know what I mean." Ashley's breath hitched. Her body reacted first, heat, then cold, then heat again. A tightness low in her stomach that felt like both hunger and fear. Brianna's knuckles were pale on the steering wheel. Ashley swallowed hard. "Then why did you invite me?" Brianna's jaw flexed. She didn't answer. Ashley's throat tightened. "Brianna." Brianna exhaled sharply. "Don't say my name like that." Ashley stared at her profile. "Like what?" Brianna's voice dropped, strained. "Like you're allowed to." The words landed like a slap and a confession at the same time. Ashley's hands curled into fists in her lap. She felt tears threaten, not from sadness alone, but from the sheer intensity of being this close to something she couldn't control. She asked the question that rose up like a bruise being pressed. "What am I doing?" The question stayed unanswered, suspended in the space between them. They pulled into an empty parking lot near a closed grocery store, the kind of place that existed only for convenience, and then emptied out after dark. Brianna cut the engine. The sudden silence was violent. The world outside continued moving, cars in the distance, a faint siren somewhere far away. But inside the Mustang, everything stopped. Brianna didn't move. Her breathing was shallow. Ashley turned toward her before she meant to. And then she saw it. Not a mother. Not a woman being careful. A woman on the edge of herself. Brianna's gaze flicked to Ashley's mouth and then back to her eyes. The movement was quick, involuntary. Ashley's entire body lit up, immediate and undeniable. Brianna's voice came out rougher than Ashley had ever heard it. "This can't happen." Ashley's lips parted. "It already is." Brianna flinched as if the words touched her. For a second, neither of them moved. The distance between their faces felt measured in punishment. Ashley's breath trembled. She could feel her own heartbeat in her throat. She could feel heat pooling under her skin, the kind that made her hands want to reach without permission. Brianna whispered, almost to herself, "Emma, Ashley's chest tightened. I know. Brianna looked at her then, really looked, and Ashley felt it like a hand around her ribs. Brianna's eyes were glossy, controlled but not untouched. Ashley didn't lean in. Not yet. But her body shifted forward a fraction, betraying her. Brianna's breath caught. And in that tiny moment, before any language could stop them, Brianna reached out. Her hand came to Ashley's jaw, fingers warm, steady, the touch both impossibly gentle and impossibly possessive. Ashley froze. Not from fear. From the fact that her entire body recognized the touch as something it had been waiting for. Brianna's thumb brushed lightly near the corner of Ashley's mouth, a test, a question. Ashley's breath broke. Brianna whispered, "Don't." Ashley's voice came out like a truth she couldn't soften. Then let go. Brianna didn't. She leaned in. The kiss didn't arrive like a sudden storm. It arrived like an inevitable closing of distance. Warm. Deep. Intense in a way that made Ashley's hands grip the edge of the seat because she didn't trust them. Brianna's mouth moved against hers with a restrained hunger, as if she was trying to take only what she could survive. Ashley felt the tremor in Brianna's breath, felt the way Brianna held her like she was both precious and dangerous. Ashley's body surged forward on instinct, chasing the contact, wanting more. Brianna made a sound. Small, involuntary, then pulled back sharply as if burned. They sat there, inches apart, breathing hard. Eyes wide. The kiss had happened. It could not be undone. Brianna's hand dropped from Ashley's jaw to her own lap, fingers curling as if holding on to restraint by force. Ashley's lips tingled. Her chest hurt. Her mind felt blank and too full at the same time. Brianna stared at the windshield. Voice barely audible. "We can't." Ashley swallowed, still tasting her. "I know." Silence. Not relief. Suspension. Outside, a car passed slowly, headlights sweeping across the Mustang's midnight blue hood, and white stripes for a brief second. Like a spotlight that almost caught them. Then it was gone. Inside, neither of them moved. Neither of them knew how to put their lives back into the shapes they'd been before. And the air, heavy, metallic, electric, didn't change back. The kiss did not dissolve when they drove home. It lingered. On Ashley's mouth. In Brianna's hands. In the space where restraint used to live comfortably. The Mustang rolled back into the driveway, under a sky already turning violet. The midnight blue paint absorbed the last light, the white stripes catching one final streak before dusk swallowed it. For a moment, neither of them moved. Brianna's hands stayed on the steering wheel. Ashley stared straight ahead. The world outside continued, neighbors watering gravel yards, a garage door opening down the street, someone laughing faintly behind a stucco wall. Inside the car, breath was still uneven. Brianna spoke first. That shouldn't have happened. Her voice was steady, but thinner than usual. Ashley felt the words in her body like a bruise being pressed. "It did," she said quietly. Brianna closed her eyes for a second. Not long. Just enough to gather something inside herself. When she opened them, she was Brianna again. Composed. Measured. They stepped out of the Mustang without touching. Emma's bedroom light was on upstairs. Ashley noticed it immediately. The house suddenly looked smaller. Inside, the air conditioning hummed softly. The scent of rosemary still lingered faintly from earlier cooking. It felt like nothing had changed. But everything had. Emma came down the stairs slowly when she heard the door. "How was it?" she asked. Ashley couldn't meet her eyes right away. Her mouth still held memory. "Good," she said, forcing the word into something neutral. Brianna walked past them into the kitchen. It was productive. Productive. Emma studied Ashley a second longer than necessary. "You look flushed." The body reacts before language. Ashley's pulse jumped. Her cheeks warmed further under scrutiny. "Son," she said quickly. Emma nodded once, but something in her gaze lingered. Dinner was quiet that night. Not cold. Not hostile. But quiet in a new way. Brianna moved carefully, too carefully. She avoided Ashley's eyes. She avoided proximity. She wiped her hands on a towel, even when they weren't dirty. Ashley noticed. Emma noticed something, though she couldn't name it. At one point, Emma laughed at something trivial. Neither of them joined her fast enough. It was small. But it registered. Later, when Emma went upstairs to shower, the house exhaled into a fragile stillness. Ashley stood near the dining table, fingers resting against the wood. Brianna remained by the kitchen counter, back turned, hands gripping the edge like she was steadying herself. The silence between them wasn't empty anymore. It was crowded. "You should leave tomorrow," Brianna said softly. The words hit hard. Ashley swallowed. "You want me to?" Brianna turned then. Not sharp. Not angry. But raw. "I want to undo it," she said. Ashley's chest tightened. "You can't." Brianna stepped forward before she seemed to realize she was moving. That kiss was a mistake. Ashley's breath caught. Her body didn't agree. Her lips still tingled with remembered pressure. The warmth of Brianna's hand on her jaw replayed without permission. "If it was a mistake," Ashley said carefully, "why didn't you stop it sooner?" Brianna flinched. That was the fracture. Not loud. Not dramatic. But undeniable. Because Brianna had seen herself differently in that parking lot. Not as Emma's mother. Not as a woman surviving silence. But as someone still capable of wanting. And being wanted. The realization had unsettled her more than the kiss itself. "You don't understand what this could do," Brianna said. Ashley stepped closer. Not touching. Close enough that breath could be shared. "I do. Do you?" Brianna's voice sharpened slightly. "You're 23. You think consequences are theoretical." Ashley's jaw tightened. "I know what it would cost," she said quietly. "Emma." The name landed between them like a fragile object. Brianna looked away. That was the pressure. Not age. Not secrecy. Trust. Ashley softened her tone. "I would never hurt her." Brianna let out a short, humorless exhale. And yet, silence again. Ashley felt it building, the pull toward each other, the push of morality pressing back. Too close. The phrase shifted in meaning again. Too close to something that could dismantle everything. Ashley asked the question she hadn't dared to before. "Do you regret it?" Brianna didn't answer immediately. Her gaze returned to Ashley's mouth. Brief. Involuntary. Then to her eyes. "No," she said. The honesty was devastating. Ashley felt it in her spine. "Then don't tell me to pretend it didn't happen." Brianna's hand lifted unconsciously, hovering near Ashley's waist before stopping midair. Consent lies in hesitation. Ashley saw the hesitation. She stepped the final inch herself. Her fingers slid into Brianna's jacket sleeve, not pulling, just holding. The contact was gentle. Electric. Brianna inhaled sharply. "This is exactly what I'm afraid of," Brianna whispered. Ashley's voice dropped. "That you want it?" Brianna closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was no denial left. "I want you," she said. The words changed everything. Not because they were loud. Because they were spoken. Ashley's entire body responded, heat flooding low and immediate, breath thinning, a tremor under her skin that had nothing to do with temperature. She didn't hesitate this time. Her hand rose to Brianna's jaw, mirroring the earlier gesture in the parking lot. Slow. Deliberate. "Then stop pretending this is just weakness," Ashley murmured. Brianna's control slipped visibly, just a fraction. Her hand came to Ashley's waist fully now, firm but not claiming. The house was quiet. Upstairs, water ran in the shower. The outside world kept moving. Inside, Brianna leaned in. This kiss was not accidental. It was chosen. Slower. Deeper. The restraint from earlier dissolved into something conscious. Brianna's mouth moved against Ashley's with intention now, not surprise. Ashley responded instantly, hands sliding upward, fingers threading into Brianna's hair. No urgency. Just gravity. Brianna pressed Ashley back gently until her spine met the wall beside the dining table. The contact was warm, grounding. Ashley felt every inch of closeness, Brianna's body aligning with hers, not forcing, not rushing. Consent lived in the way they paused between breaths. In the way Brianna searched Ashley's face before deepening the kiss. In the way Ashley nodded slightly before letting her hands slide under the fabric of Brianna's jacket. Heat pulled low and undeniable. Ashley felt the shape of Brianna's body against hers, and something inside her surrendered fully. This is happening. Brianna's hands moved slowly, one at Ashley's waist, the other rising to cradle the back of her neck. Not frantic. Not careless. Revelation. Not lust alone. When their foreheads touched, breath mingled. Ashley felt the vulnerability beneath it. The fear, the hunger, the quiet years Brianna had swallowed. Brianna whispered against her skin, "We can't let this go further." Ashley's lips brushed the corner of Brianna's mouth. "It already has." But even as she said it, footsteps echoed faintly above. The world intruded. Reality returned with sound. Brianna pulled back first this time. Not harshly, but decisively. Her chest rose and fell unevenly. Ashley's lips were swollen, her eyes darkened by something deeper than adrenaline. They stood inches apart, too close to undo, too close to survive unexamined. Emma's footsteps moved across the upstairs hallway. The pressure shifted from desire to dread in one swift turn. Brianna stepped back fully now, running a hand through her hair as if trying to restore order. "This ends here," she said. Ashley's throat tightened. "Because of her," Ashley said softly. "Yes," Brianna answered without hesitation. The conviction hurt, but the honesty steadied them both. Ashley nodded once. She felt older in that moment, not because she had been wanted, because she understood the cost. Emma came down the stairs, moments later, towel around her shoulders, unaware. Brianna moved to the kitchen sink. Ashley sat at the table. Normal shapes, normal distances. Emma glanced between them briefly. "Everything okay?" "Yes," Brianna said at the same time Ashley said, "Yeah." Their voices overlapped. Emma hesitated, then smiled faintly. The night continued, but something had shifted permanently. They had crossed a line, not into recklessness, but into knowledge. Desire wasn't hypothetical anymore. It had weight. It had warmth. It had consequence. And as Ashley lay awake later in the guest room, listening to the quiet hum of the house, she realized the most dangerous part wasn't the secrecy. It was the choice waiting ahead. Because wanting was easy. Stopping would not be. The house did not return to what it had been. It adjusted. Quietly. Like furniture moved a few inches overnight. Ashley left the next morning. Not abruptly. Not dramatically. There were hugs. There were polite smiles. There was coffee and travel mugs and the ordinary choreography of departure. Emma hugged her too tightly at the car. "Text me when you get back," Emma said. "I will." Ashley looked at Brianna once before getting into her own car. Not longing. Recognition. Brianna held her gaze just long enough to acknowledge what had happened. Not long enough to betray it. Too close. The phrase shifted again, no longer a warning, but a memory. The drive back to California felt longer than the drive out. Ashley drove with both hands on the wheel, the desert flattening around her. The sky was endless, indifferent. Her lips no longer tingled, but her body remembered. She replayed the kitchen, the wall, the way Brianna had said, "I want you," the way she had also said, "This ends here." Ashley had believed her in both moments. Back in the apartment, everything was as it had been. The same mugs, the same couch, the same stack of unread books on the coffee table. But Ashley felt different in the space. Emma arrived 2 days later. She was quieter than usual. They unpacked in silence at first. Then Emma said without looking at her, "Did something happen?" The question landed soft but heavy. Ashley's breath stilled. This was the pressure. Not accusation. Intuition. She could lie. She could confess. She chose something in between. "Your mom's different than I expected," Ashley said carefully. Emma let out a small, humorless laugh. "Yeah." They sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the California light softer than Arizona's. Emma's fingers traced the rim of her mug. "I keep thinking about how she looked when she drove that car." Ashley's pulse flickered. "She looked happy," Emma continued. "And I don't know why that bothers me." Ashley swallowed. "It shouldn't," she said gently. Emma finally looked up. "Maybe I just don't know who she is anymore." Ashley felt the truth of that like a bruise. Neither of them did. Weeks passed. Distance was supposed to dissolve intensity. It didn't. Messages began small. A photo of the Mustang under a new light. A question about a part that needed replacing. A comment about how quiet the house felt. Then longer conversations. Late-night confessions that had nothing to do with cars. Brianna admitting she'd built her identity around being steady, around being necessary, around not wanting. Ashley admitting she had always chased things that felt alive because she was afraid of becoming still. They did not speak about the kisses directly at first. They didn't need to. The silence held them. When Brianna finally wrote, "I can't stop thinking about that day," Ashley stared at the screen for a long time before answering, "Neither can I." The second meeting happened months later. Not in Arizona. Not in California. Neutral ground. A small town halfway between obligation and escape. They chose it deliberately. Choice mattered now. They met in a rented room that smelled faintly of clean linen and unfamiliarity. There was no rush. No impulsive collision. They stood facing each other for a long moment, absorbing the reality of being in the same space without Emma's proximity anchoring them. "You look the same," Brianna said softly. Ashley shook her head. "I don't feel the same." Brianna's gaze searched her face. "How?" Ashley hesitated, then answered honestly. "Braver." Brianna inhaled slowly. The body reacts before language. Even now. The air between them thickened, but not recklessly. Ashley stepped closer. "Are you sure?" she asked. Brianna didn't pretend not to understand. "Yes." Consent was not a whisper this time. It was a steady yes. The intimacy that followed was not frantic. It was deliberate. Hands learned shapes slowly. Breath synchronized without demand. They undressed like people unwrapping something fragile rather than tearing into it. Skin met skin with quiet reverence. Brianna traced the curve of Ashley's shoulder like she was memorizing it. Ashley pressed her forehead to Brianna's collarbone and felt something shift inside her. Not conquest, not triumph. Recognition. Their bodies aligned not as escape, but as confirmation of what had already grown between them. When they finally lay still afterward, limbs loosely entwined, the silence wasn't tense. It was honest. Ashley watched the rise and fall of Brianna's chest. "This isn't sustainable," Brianna said quietly. Ashley nodded against her skin. "I know." There was no fight in the acknowledgement. No denial. Just clarity. Because what made it powerful was also what made it impossible. Emma's trust. The structure of a family already rebuilt once after fracture. The knowledge that love built in shadow carries weight. They met like that several times over the following months. Carefully. Intentionally. Never impulsively. Each time more aware of the line they were walking. Each time closer to understanding that intensity is not the same as permanence. The final meeting was the quietest. No hotel room. No new town. Just a long walk along a coastal stretch of highway where the ocean erased footprints as quickly as they were made. They did not touch much. They didn't need to. "I can't rebuild myself on something that would hurt her," Brianna said at last. Ashley stared at the horizon. "I know." The words hurt less than they had months ago. Because the love, yes, it was love now, had shifted shape. It was no longer hunger. It was gratitude. "I don't regret you," Ashley said. Brianna's voice trembled slightly. "Neither do I." They stood there, wind tugging at their hair, salt air sharp and clean. Too close once meant danger. Now it meant understanding. They stepped back, not from fear, not from shame. From lucidity. They chose to stop before they became irreparable. The goodbye was not dramatic. No promises of forever. No desperate declarations. Just a long look. Final touch of fingers. And then distance. Months later, they still spoke occasionally. Not lovers. Not strangers. Something rarer. Two women who had recognized something incandescent and refused to let it burn down what mattered. The intensity had not been a mistake. It had been a mirror. And sometimes the bravest thing is not to chase the fire, but to honor the warmth and walk away before it consumes everything. If love transforms you, even when it doesn't stay, what does that say about who you are becoming? Some stories whisper instead of shouting. They linger because what mattered was never said. If this story stayed with you, if you felt the tension, the choice, the restraint, leave a quiet comment below and subscribe for more stories that explore the spaces where desire and dignity meet.